What's going on, everyone? So what a wild ending to From Season 3. So you saw Tabitha and Jade finally remember, and cooey, which means remember. And Tabitha needed a moment, right? So she goes, runs off. Jim, kind of just in his thoughts, wanders along, ends up going over to the RV, kind of just, in his thoughts, reminiscent about his wife and just the situation at hand. All of a sudden, you hear Julie calling for her dad. Hey, do you hear me? Jim screams for Julie. Julie comes running over, and you see she's all cut up. She's got a, big kind of slash across her face. Jim's like, what happened to you, right? And she says, you need to run. You need to get out of here, because I believe that this is when it happens, which ultimately leads to Jim's death. Jim ends up dying. We see, and believe me, we'll talk about this in a separate video, because I do think that now that they've opened up essential time travel, this is clearly a different Julie, right? Her hair's different, right? She's clearly a Julie from the future, because she's going back to try to change it. She says, like, I need to change the story. I need to change the story. We find out that she's a story walker, right? Again, dive into that in a separate video, but obviously she fails to save her father again, as Ethan relayed, that you cannot change the story once it's already been written, and he dies at the hands of the man in a yellow suit. And this man in yellow ends up literally ripping Jim's throat out, which was a wild sequence in and of itself. And it turns out he was the one that spoke to Jim on the CB radio all the way back into season 1. Remember when they made the little tower on top of Colony House, right? So he relays and says the same thing. I told you your wife shouldn't have dug that hole. But we also find out that the man in white actually murdered Jim because of the knowledge that Jim had, right? He says, knowledge comes with a cost. And Jim helped Jade and Tabitha figure out the little music notes that led to them remembering their past and realizing that they have failed over and over and over and over again, part and due because they never remembered their past. And now the man in yellow has intervened and stepped in and even said, like, it didn't have to be this way, and needed to kind of move Jim off the board. Jim and his kind of knowledge and music kind of being this universal language, guess what? You need to get rid of Jim, right? But what exactly is the man in yellow, right? That's kind of what I want to hit on more in this video. I'll probably do like a more in-depth breakdown of Jim and kind of his death, but I really want to talk about the man in yellow because I do think that this is very interesting. So right off the bat, a couple things that we know immediately is that he does not have to follow the rules of the, like, monsters, the creatures, right? The vampiric type ones that have to be there at night. He's there in the middle of the day, right? He just pops up and is able to walk right up to Jim and handle business. And literally, he's clearly different than the other one. Darkened eyes, kind of blacked out eyes, almost like demon-like, like when you see a lot of these shows. I think of like Supernatural, right? When they flick their eyes over and they have like the black eyes. It's what you see with the man in yellow. So clearly the man in yellow is a different type of monster. Here's the thing. He can't be the village monster. So we still didn't get what is the village monster, because again, the village monster only came out at night and ran around at night and sounded like, almost like a Wendigo or something, like a wolf or something, right? Like some monster sprinting around the village. Okay, could the man in yellow be the one in the dungeon? That is very possible, right? The one that Martin keeps referring to, but we don't know that for certain, right? That is speculatory. We don't know without a doubt if the man in yellow is the one from the dungeon. Possibly, right? It would make sense that would be the case, but I still don't know, right? We do know, again, that he is overseeing things, right? That he can see things and know things, because he relays to Jim on the CB radio when Jim is trying to communicate, trying to get out to the real world. He's the one that kind of played, with and messed with Jim a little bit there. So, again, the man in yellow clearly can see things and know things. Now, is he seeing things and know things because he's in the in the dungeon, and that's like this type of, storybook in which you can go to different chapters? Right? Like, is he able to kind of do things similar to what Julie is able to do? I mean, the mysteries are really endless because we don't really know much, if anything, about the man in yellow. I will say, though, I don't believe that he is the big bad. I mean, he may be a big bad, but I don't think he is the grand overseer, right? Like, I think it's kind of like, have you seen like Cabin in the Woods, right? Like, you have like the monsters, and then you have like the overseers, right? The ones that do everything and oversee. But then they even have an upstairs department, and then Sigourney Weaver is like the main, and she's the one that comes out and tries to get everybody, like, right? Like, that's kind of how I see this, right? So, like, you have the monsters that are just the generic monsters that come in and terrorize the village. And then you have, like, kind of the first level of overseers, right? And that's what I think this guy is the kind of overseer, but there's still other levels beyond him, right? I don't think that he is the main, like, hey, I need to take you out, right? Like, I don't think he's the one that's above the boy in white and all that stuff, right? I think there's still levels to this. Again, just speculation. I could be completely wrong, but also the only time we ever saw this man in yellow previously was in the paintings from Miranda, right? Miranda had a painting of the man in yellow. So Miranda obviously saw visions of this man in yellow. So that is worth noting. And a lot of people speculated, just based on the drawing, because it looked like he had like a scar on his face, right? As you see in the painting. A lot of people thought that was that the man in yellow is actually Randall from the future. I don't really know. So, like, when you look at the man in yellow and you see, you kind of got to look at his face, he didn't have the scars that there would be for Randall, right? It's almost more like, it almost looks like a bruising, like a shade to him. Like, he clearly has like this like shade, like hue to this face, but it's not what it looks like with Randall. So I don't think it's Randall. I don't. Again, who knows, right? Especially now with the implementation of well, not only time travel, but of reincarnation and stuff like that. Could Randall have evolved into this type of monster? Possibly, but I think this is something that has been there for a while. I think this is something that has been there, since the beginning, right? Like, one of the overseers, maybe this is the one that orchestrated the sacrifices or whatever, right? Because you got to think, right? Like, based on the story that we have, all of the monsters came from people that sacrificed their children for immortality. Well, it would make sense that there would probably be the one that got the highest raise, so to speak, right? That there would be the one that, like, hey, there's still limitations for all these ones. Yeah, you guys are going to be able to live forever, but there's little caveats to it. But the one that kind of orchestrated and maybe convinced everybody and rallied up all the children or whatever, or the one that actually made the sacrifice. Like, I could see the man in yellow being the one that actually sacrificed the children. And he became the kind of, he's the one that got the boost, the power boost, which is that he doesn't operate by the same rules. He doesn't have to just only come out at night, like things like that. It's kind of how I feel with this. But I do. I'm excited to kind of see and peel back this layer of a man in yellow and what is he capable of? What can he do? How Is this something where he just kind of stepped in simply because, you know, things were going south for FROMVILLE because now that they figured out the music notes? Or is this something where it's like, no, it's just, you know, he's just now getting... Because my point is, like, why is he getting involved now? Right? Like, why now? Why is he all of a sudden deciding to pop up and start, you know, messing with things? Right? Why didn't this happen before? How come we haven't seen him till now? Right? Obviously, he said, you know, with knowledge comes cost, okay, and ends up killing Jim. Okay, well, is that what it is? Because Jim kind of got too close to the sun, so to speak. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? What or who do you think is the man in yellow? What do you think of the man in yellow? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know either way down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.